we learn module 3 in digital system design, which is flip-flops and its applications. Okay, so we'll see what is the definition of the flip-flop, and we'll see what are the applications of the flip-flop. So then in module 4 we'll be learning counters, how to design counters of different model. Okay, coming to the introduction part. Now the figure what you can see, which shows the sequential circuit figure. Now this figure means the sequential circuit normally will have first block, which is a combinational circuit, and you will have a feedback element, which is normally a memory element. Okay, so what is sequential is a combinational circuit will do the combinational gate related operation, and then it accepts the input, it accepts the present state which is given by the content stored in the memory element, and then it gives the next state or the output. Okay, so therefore you can easily say that the output is totally dependent on the present state and the input, and the same output if I give as a feedback to the memory element, then for the next consecutive process we normally give a clock pulse. So when we give a clock pulse, the memory element, whatever the content stored, which would be the previous state, means that would be the next state of that particular process, that behaves as a present state now, and then the combinational circuit will accept the input and that present state stored in the memory element, and it gives a new output. So this is what the cycle continues. That is why it is called as a sequential circuit. Present state, next state. And that next state what we got will be the present state for the next clock pulse. Okay, so that is how the sequential circuit is actually behaving. Now if I want a present state to be obtained for the next clock pulse or the next process, I need that present state to be stored in somewhere, in some place. And that storage is nothing but the memory element, and that storage element is actually a flip-flop. This memory element what you see is a flip-flop which can store a maximum of 1 bit information. Okay, this is a memory element which is a flip-flop which can store a maximum of 1 bit information. Okay, now this is what the theory what you can see here is: the information stored in memory elements at any given time defines the present state. Then the present state and the external inputs, so this is the external inputs, determine the outputs and next state of the sequential circuit. Okay, so the inputs and the present state will determine the output or the next state of the process. Okay, so the memory element used in sequential circuit is actually a flip-flop which is capable of storing 1 bit information. 1 bit information. Now let us look into the comparison of combinational circuit and sequential circuit. So comparison of combinational circuit and sequential circuit. And sequential circuit. So let us write the differences between the combinational circuit and the sequential circuit. Okay, let us make a 2 column here. So in the first heading I will say combinational circuit. And here I will write sequential circuit. Okay, now what would be the first difference that we come across in combinational circuit? So the first point is, in combinational circuits, the output variable at all time dependent on the combination of input variables. The output variables at all time depends on the input variables. Whereas in sequential circuit, the output depends on not only on the present input, it also depends on the past history of the input variables. It not only depends on input variables, but also on past history of input variables. That is nothing but present state and next state, whatever I told, that is what. So this is the sequential circuit. Now the second point in the sequential circuit, what would be the second point in? So in the second difference for the combinational circuit and sequential circuit is the memory unit is not required in combinational circuit. So there will not be any memory element in the combinational circuit, right? We don't need anything to be stored in combinational circuit. Whereas in sequential circuit, as the output is completely dependent on the present state and the input, so therefore the present state depends on totally on the previous behavior of the past history of the input element. Therefore, we need a memory unit in sequential circuit, which will store the past history of the input variables. Coming to the third differences between combinational and sequential is combinational circuits are faster in operation. Okay, so combinational circuits are very fast in operation, whereas sequential circuits are very slower. They operate in a very slow manner. Now the fourth point in differences is combinational circuits are easy to design. Okay, they are very easy to design, whereas the sequential circuits are complicated to design. Okay. Now coming to the fifth difference, what you can write between the difference between combinational and sequential is you need to write the examples for the combinational circuit and the examples for the sequential circuit. So the best example for combinational circuits, what we normally look into the combinational circuits are like adders are designed using combinational the adders are the part of combinational circuits which are been designed. Subtractor is another combinational circuits that we design, like half adder and full adder and half subtractor and full subtractor, whatever people have learned in our previous videos of the discussion what we did. We have discussed on multiplexers, so that is again the example of the combinational circuit. Then we have an encoder and decoders which we have learned earlier, that is also an examples of the combinational circuits. Now coming to sequential circuits, I think from now in further discussions in all our sessions, what we are going to discuss is we will be learning on counter design, we will be learning on shift registers, and before that we will learn different types of flip-flops that are used to design these counters. Okay, like JK flip-flop, D flip-flop, T flip-flop. So we'll learn these flip-flops in detail in the beginning, and then we will keep our step into the shift registers and counters design. Now before learning the flip-flop, we will now learn the latch. What is the meaning of latch? And what would be the basic bistable element which is required to design this latch? Okay, so this is the first thing which we learn. Once we will learn the bistable element, and once we learn the details of the bistable element, then we will see how to design the flip-flops, how to work on flip-flops based on the discussion that we do on basic bistable element. Okay, so now this is the block diagram of any basic bistable element that we see. Normally the bistable elements or latch is completely made up of two inverters. Okay, it will have two inverters. So inverters means a NOT gate. So it can be a NOT gate, direct NOT gate, what we can see in this particular diagram. It can be a NAND equivalent NOT. So NAND gate can also be used to design the bistable element. This will also behave as an inverters. We do have a NOR gate, which is a NOR gate, which is again a not equivalent NOR gate, what you can see. Okay, this is also an inverters. So we basically work on inverters to learn the bistable element. Okay. So what is the operation of bistable element? Let us learn the operation of the bistable element. Let us learn the operation of the bistable element. So now let us work on the bistable element. So for that we need to assume something. So let us assume let us assume a is equal to 0. So let us assume the input a is equal to 0. Okay, so when I assume the input a is equal to 0, any of in the above three inverter or bistable element diagram, when I assume a to be equal to 0, we see through that we see that the output of the second inverter, the output of second inverter, that is the second inverter in the sense the NOT get 2 or the NAND get 2 or NOR get 2. So second inverter, the output of second inverter, the output of the second inverter would be also 0, would be also 0. Meanwhile the output of the output of the first inverter, the output of the first inverter, which is 1, which is the output of the NOT get 1. When a is 0, what happens to the output of this first inverter? The output of the first inverter will be equal to 1, which is nothing but q will be equal to 1, and due to a equals 0, q bar will be equal to 0. The reason is, if you see here, this is connected to B bar and this output of this is connected to B. Therefore, due to as the Q is connected to B, which is an input of inverter 2, so as Q is connected to B, which is the input of inverter 2, then B will be equal to 1, because Q equals 1, so B will be equal to 1. Then this forces Q bar to be equal to 0 again. So therefore you can see in this operation that when A was assumed to be equal to 0, then Q was equal to 1. Due to Q equals 1, B will also be equal to 1, whereas when B is equal to 1, then B bar will be equal to 0. So therefore this crossover connection what we have done in bistable element will make the information to be constant. So you give 0 here, it becomes 1, give 1 here, it becomes 0. See, 0 is again given back to A, again 1 will come here, again 0 is again given back to A. So this process will continue. So this continuous process of having the same bit values again and again will make this bistable element to behave as a memory unit. Okay, this makes the bistable element to behave as a memory unit. How many bits it can store? You are giving an input only 1, therefore you are assuming only A equals 0. So that A is forced to be 0 every time. Therefore this bistable element is used as a memory unit which can store 0 always, if you assume A equals 0. Therefore when then forces Q bar equals 0 again, therefore A is again returned to 0. A is again returned to 0. So this process continues again and again to force A equals 0. Okay, now if we assume if A equals 1 is assumed, if A equals 1 is assumed, then if A equals 1 is assumed, then Q will be equal to 0, right? Q will be equal to 0. Then this Q, as Q is equal to 0, B will also be equal to 0. So when B is equal to 0, then Q bar will be equal to 1. Q bar equal to 1. Due to this, A is again forced to 1. Again forced to 1. So again, this process continues. This process continues. Continuous again and again to force A equals 1. So this makes one bit to be remained as 0 or 1 for a large time. Due to this, we can say bistable elements can be used as 1-bit memory. We can say bistable element behaves as memory unit which can store 1-bit information. So I hope you people got now what is the bistable element and for what purpose bistable elements are used. Okay, so this is the knowledge that you needed to work on the bistable element. Now, what is the latch? What is latch? Okay, so in the above process, the 1-bit information, stored in the circuit is locked or latched. Therefore this circuit is referred as latch. Okay, so I hope you got this. So in the above process we saw A was equal to 0 or A was equal to 1 whenever we assume A 0 or A equal to 1. So it remained to be 0 or 1 for a longer time. So that makes the 1-bit information to get locked or latched for certain time. So such circuit which makes 1-bit information to be locked or to be stored, such circuits are normally referred as the latch. Okay, latch is what we come across with. Now let us work on SR latch. Okay, let us now work on SR latch. Let us now work on SR latch. Okay, now let us work on SR latch, as you can see the diagram which shows the SR latch diagram. Okay, so this is the SR latch diagram where you can also see a bistable element which is connected here. Now we'll see case by case how SR latch will behave. Okay, so let us go with case 1. Let us go with case 1 where both S and R is assumed to be equal to 0. Where both S and R is assumed to be equal to 0. Okay, now let me work on that. So think S equals 0 and R equals 0. Think S equals 0 and R equals 0. So here, as S equals 0 and R equals 0, A will be equal to 1, B will also be equal to 1. A is equal to 1, B is equal to 1 because this is the not equivalent NAND gate. Okay, the first case what we have assumed is S and R equals 0, where S stands for set and R stands for reset. Okay, now we will see how it behaves when both are 0 0. Okay, now as A equals 1 and B equals 1, now out of this output let me assume Q to be equal to 0 in the beginning. Let me assume Q to be equal to 0. Okay, let me assume Q to be equal to 0. When Q is assumed to be 0, the Q is given to the second input of this second NAND gate, therefore that becomes 0. Okay, that becomes 0. Now 1 NANDed with 0, I think you should all know that any one input of the NAND gate is 0, the output will be equal to 1. The output will be equal to 1. This one is now given as a second input of this NAND gate. So 1 is given to this. So the input of the NAND gate 1 is both ones. So when both are 1 for a NAND gate, the output is 0. So I think you should know the NAND gate. NAND gate is what? It is a complement of AND. 0 0 0 1 1 0 1 1. When both are 0, the NAND gate output is 1. Any one input is 0 is also 1. Only for both 1, the NAND gate output is 0. So therefore when both are 1, you got Q to be equal to 0. Now what is the justification that we make with this discussion now is, as we have assumed Q to be equal to 0 in the beginning, after the operation of this crisscross connection, what we see, we again achieved Q to be equal to 0, right? See, I assumed Q equals 0, I gave 0 here, 1 NANDed with 0, I got 1. So that 1 I gave here, and we saw that 1 NANDed with 1, we got 0. So Q was assumed to be 0 and Q is again 0. So therefore the present state of Q was, let me take Qn. The next state of Q is Qn plus 1, for example. For S and R to be equal to 0 0, the present state was Q was assumed. The next state I got 0 only. The next state also I got 0. Okay, now I'll just write here under that case 1. So let me not write here. Okay, case 1 S equals 0, R equals 0 is a, so we assume before assume, what we write is, due to S and R equals 0, A and B will be equal to 1. That is the first thing which we need to write. Due to S equals R equals 0, A equals B equals 1. Now we assume Q to be equal to 0, Q to be equal to 0, then this Q is given as a second input of inverter NAND gate 2, second input of NAND 2. Therefore 0, which is Q equals 0, NANDed with B equals 1, we get Q bar to be equal to 1. Okay, this Q q bar is given as input, second input of NAND gate 1, NAND 1. Therefore, q bar, which is equal to 1, NANDed with a equals 1, will make q to be equal to 0 again. Q to be equal to 0 again. Now let us assume q to be equal to 1 now. Okay, let me explain you in this diagram. Let me assume q to be equal to 1. So when q is equal to 1, okay, when q is equal to 1, what do we get? When q is equal to 1, we get when q is equal to 1, we get this is 1. So we get the second input of this NAND gate will also become 1. 1 NANDed with 1 will make q bar to go to 0. Now this 0 is given as a second input to 1. 1 NANDed with 0 will make the output to be equal to 1. So you assumed 1, you got 1. So let us assume q equals 1, then q equals 1 NANDed with b equals 1, then q equals 1 NANDed with b equals 1, then we get q bar to be equal to 0. This q bar equals 0 is NANDed with a equals 1. This forces q to be equal to 1 again. So therefore, what the conclusion with this discussion that we can make is, so SR is 0, 0, Qn is the present state and Qn plus 1 is the next state. When Qn is 0, Qn plus 1 also 0. Again SR is 0, 0. When Qn is 1, Qn plus 1 is also 1. So this says that when SR is equal to 0, 0, the output or the next state will be no change. No change means it will be equal to present state when SR equals R equals 0. So I hope you people got the first case. When S equals R equals 0, Qn, whatever the Qn value will be there, whatever the state of Qn is there, the next state Qn plus 1 will also remain in the same state. So it means that it is no change. Now let us look into the case 2. In case 2, we see that S equals 1 and R equals 0 is been assumed. So we have assumed S equals 0 and S equals 1 and R equals 0. So this makes A to be equal to 0 and B to be equal to 1. Okay, this makes A to be equal to 0 and B to be equal to 1. Therefore, when A is 0, now what is our job? Our job is to assume Q now. So let me assume Q to be equal to 0. Okay, let me assume Q to be equal to 0. Now when Q is 0, that 0 comes here and that 0 is NANDed with 1, which gives you again 1, and this 1 is coming here. So this 1 NANDed with 0 will again give you 1. Will again give you 1. So it means that I assumed now S and R is, S is 1 and R is 0, Qn and Qn plus 1. So I assumed Qn to be equal to 0 but the next state what I got is again 1. Now I'll assume this as 1 now. I'll assume this as 1. So now what will be this, and this will all change now. So I'll assume this as 1. So 1 is given here to the input of the NAND gate 2. Now 1 ANDed with 1 will make to get 0, and this 0 is given here. 0 ANDed with 0 will again get back 1. So it means that the present state when 0 was there, the present state it was 1. I got Qn plus 1 is also equal to 1. So it means that the output, okay, remains to be 1 even though the present state changed, even though the present state is 0 or 1. So it means that when S and R is 1 0, this state is actually called as set state. Okay, when S equals 1 and R equals 0, so when S equals 1 and R equals 0, then A equals 0 and B is equal to 1. Now we assume Q to be equal to 0. So this makes the output of NAND gate 2, which is Q bar, to be equal to 0. Now due to Q bar equals 0, the output of NAND gate 1, which is Q, will be equal to will be equal to 1. So we assumed Q equals 0 as present state, but in next state Q became 1. So here if you see, we assumed Q is equals 0 as present state, but in next state we again achieved Q to be equal to 1. So similarly, if we assume Q equals 1, assume Q equals 1, then we end up again Q to be forced to 1. So due to this, when S and R equals, when S and R, when S equals 1 and R equals 0, not S and R, when S equals 1 and R equals 0, then this state is called as set state. So set state. Now let us go with the next case. Let us go with the next case when S equals 0 and R equals 1. So next, let us go with the next state when S equals 0. So this is case 3. When S equals 0 and R equals 1. So here again let us understand the operation. So here S equals 0, R equals 1. So this makes A to be equal to 1 and B to be equal to 0. Right? So this makes A to be equal to 1 and B to be equal to 0. So therefore, when A is 1 and Q, when we assume Q to be equal to 0, this Q when assumed to be equal to 0, this 0 is given as a second input of the NAND gate 2. That 0 will be again now NANDed with the 0, B equals 0. So they both will be NANDed. And we know that when both are 0, you get 1 as a Q bar. Now this one is given back to the input of NAND gate 1. Therefore 1 NANDed with 1 will again be 0. So therefore when S and R, when S is equal to 0 and R equals 1, present state we assumed it to be 0, the next state we again got as 0. Okay. Coming to the next discussion, condition is S and R is again 0 and 1. Now what we do is we assume Q to be equal to 1 now. So this assumption of Q to be equal to 1, let me see what it makes. So now that 1 is given as a second input of the NAND gate 2. This 1 is NANDed with 0 now, again you get 1. This 1 is given as a second input of NAND gate 1. This 1 and 1 NANDed with 1 will force again Q to be equal to 0. So it means that when Qn was 1, which is the present state, when what we assumed as 1, but the next state Qn plus 1, we again got 0. Therefore this state is actually called as reset state. Why? Because the next state is becoming 0 even though the Qn was 1 or 0. Okay. So when S equals 0 and R equals 1, we see that when S equals 0, when S equals 0 and R equals 1, then A will be equal to 1 and B will be equal to 0. When we assume Q to be equal to 0, this makes the output of NAND gate 2, which is nothing but Q bar, to be equal to 1. So this Q bar equals 1 will force the output of NAND gate 1, which is nothing but Q, to be equal to 0. Now when we assume Q to be equal to 1, this makes the output of NAND gate 1, which is Q bar, to be equal to 1 again, to be equal to 1. Then this Q bar equals 1 will force Q to be equal to 0 again. Therefore, as the next state of Q remains to be 0, this state is called as reset state. This state is called as reset state. Now let us go with the last condition. Let us go with the last condition, which is case 4, where both when S and R equals 1. So case 4 when S and R both are 1. So in this case, when S and R both are 1, A will be equal to 0, B will be equal to 0. So S and R is 1 and 1. Let us see how Qn and Qn plus 1 will behave. So let us assume Q to be equal to 0. Now 0 is given here. 0 ANDed with 0 is 1. Whereas 1 ANDed with 0 is again 1. So 0 became 1. So when I gave 0, it became 1. Now next let me assume, so here let me write, when I gave 0, it became 1. Now let me assume Qn to be equal to 1. This 1 came here. This 1 ANDed with 0. I got 1. As one of the input is 0, so I get 1. This 1 ANDed with 0. I got 1. So when both are 1, 1, I gave 1. I got 1. So this is an intermediate state. This is an indeterminate or undefined state. The reason is when both set and reset, set is yes and R is reset. When set and reset is equal to 1, 1, you can neither get set state or neither you can get reset state. But when you see Qn and Qn plus 1 behavior, you see that both the next state is 1 even though the present state is 0 and 1. But the problem is that this set state can come only when S equals 1. Right? Because when S equals 1 and R equals 0, we got the same case. So when both are 1, if you get the same case, it means that it is an undefined state. The reason is both S and R is 1. So therefore we'll write a comment here. This case is a undefined state. Therefore this case is an undefined state. The reason is both S is set and R, which is reset, is equal to 1. So this is the SR latch using NAND gates, and I have explained you step by step for each case how this SR latch behaves. Okay, SR latch behaves, or SR flip-flop also we can say. SR latch or SR flip-flop. A flip-flop will come only when it is pulse triggered. I think in future in the further discussion, in the next discussion, we will see how SR flip-flop will behave when a clock the pulse is given. Okay, so here we are only discussing on latch. So we will see further in the next discussion how SR flip-flop will behave when the pulse triggered clock pulse is given. Okay, so therefore if I write the truth table for SR latch, Qn plus 1. So let me take present state as Qn and Qn plus 1. So when it is 0, 0, 0, 1, 1, 0 and 1, 1, we see for 0, 0, Qn, whatever we had the present state, we used to get the same state, right? So therefore the output would be equal to Qn. It means no change. Okay, whatever the Qn is there, so let me not write Qn here. So Qn, whatever we had here, so you get same Qn. It means that you assume Qn to be equal to any value, you get same Qn as our next state also. Coming to 0, 1, when S equals 0, R equals 1, you get 0. This is a reset state. Irrespective value of Qn, but you will end up in getting the output as 0 only. Means you will end up in getting the next state of Q to be equal to 0. When I say S equals 1 and R equals 0, you get 1, which is nothing but a set state. Again, irrespective value of Qn that you take, either 1 or 0, but the next state would always remain as 1. Whereas when 1 1 is there, it is undefined state. Undefined or undeterminate state. Okay, undetermined state or whatever you can call. Okay, now this is what the discussion of SR latch. So let us look into the application of SR latch now, where SR flip-flop SR latch can be used as an application for avoiding the switch debouncing effect. Okay, how to avoid the switch debouncing, how to avoid the bouncing effect of the switch what we have. Now, what is the debouncing effect is when there is a switch which is connected to any part of the circuit. When we press the switch and when we leave, the switch will not come immediately to the rest position. Okay, when the switch is pressed, we see that the switch will be in the pressed condition for certain seconds, and that is what you can see this waveform, where the switch is released here, pressed here, it remains to be in one state, and so there is no proper peak that you can see in this particular waveform. So similarly here, you release the switch. Okay, before coming to the initial position, you see that it gives you one condition many times. So this, how to avoid this bouncing effect. Okay, so when you release the switch after pressing, you see that the switch will not be released, or the switch will not come to its rest position immediately. It continues to be in a pressed state for certain seconds. So that continuation of being in for one state might make the circuit to receive the condition of the key pressed. So therefore, we need to add the switch to a circuit where when the key is pressed, it should take 1, and when the key is released immediately, it should take 0. So you need to have a proper square wave in this sense, where switch is pressed or switch is released. So you need to get 1-0 condition with the proper duty cycle. So what should be the case, or what would be the way where we can make that debouncing effect or the bouncing effect to get avoided? Okay, so how do we do that? So that is what we try to see now. That can be done by using a SR latch connected to the switch. As you can see in this diagram, an SR latch connected to this A and B of the switch. Okay, S is connected to the A of the switch, B is connected to the R of the latch. Okay, so therefore now A and B is not directly connected to the switch. A and B is connected through the SR latch of the switch. Now we all know about the SR flip-flop. When S is 0 and R is 0, it is no change. No change. When S equals 0 and R equals 1, it is reset state. When S equals 1 and R equals 0, it is set state. Okay. Now if we make this into consideration, anyway, switch cannot make both the condition to be 1, right? Switch cannot be both should be on. No, switch will never work when both are on, right? Now think A is 1 and B is 0. It means that this switch, what you can see, will be connected to A and it will not be connected to B. So it means that this voltage source is directly connected to A, where it is set state. Therefore, the switch will now behave as 1. Means set state means the next part of the circuit, whatever it is on, it will take 1 as an output. See, the output Q will be equal to 1. So next part of the circuit, for example, if this Q is connected to some bulb, for example, if this Q is connected to the bulb, 1 received by this bulb will switch on the bulb. Okay, we will switch on the bulb. So this bulb will start glowing because of receiving 1. Now think that S is 0 and R is 1. It means that now B is connected and A is released. So when it is released, it means it is 0. When it is connected to B, it means it is 1. Therefore now R is 1 and S equals 0, Q becomes 0. Q becomes 0. Therefore the bulb will now get switched off. Bulb will not glow now. So earlier when S was 1, bulb was on. When R equals 1, now the bulb will be off. Now if it was not connected to SR latch, then this bulb would have shown some blown effect, as the key pressed will never release very soon. But as it is connected to SR latch, you see that when Q is 1, the bulb will glow. When Q is 0, the bulb will not glow. Now, when both S and R equals 0, when will that condition comes? That condition comes when the switch will come in between A and B. Okay, that condition will come when switch will come in between A and B. It means either it is not connected to A, not connected to B. So when both are 0, you see that in SR flip-flop, SR latch, there is no change for both 0. Therefore, when the bulb, if the bulb is in on condition, it will remain to be in on condition, or if the bulb is in off condition, it will remain to be in off condition. Okay, there is no flickering of the bulb will happen here because of the SR latch connected to the bulb. Either it will be on or it will be off. When both A and B are 0, it means that it remains to be in the previous state itself. So by this, we can see that the bouncing effect will not come into picture. No flickering will happen with this bulb now. This is what the application of SR latch, which is used to create a switch debouncer circuit, or which is used to reduce the bouncing effect of the switch. Okay, now coming to the next discussion. Triggering of flip-flops. So triggering are of two types. Triggering are of two types. One is edge triggering and the second one is pulse triggering. Okay, so triggering are of two types. One is edge triggering, the other one is pulse triggering. Now, when I go with edge triggering, it is of two types. One is positive edge triggering and the second one is negative edge triggering. Similarly, we have pulse triggering are of two types. Positive level. So this pulse triggering is again called as level triggering also. Level triggering. So we have positive level triggering and we have negative level triggering. So what do we say here is, so this is pulse level triggering, this is pulse edge triggering. Okay, pulse edge triggering and pulse level triggering. So we can have two types of edge triggering. One is positive edge triggering, the other one is negative edge triggering. So this can be not only pulse, it is level actually. Pulse are of two types, edge and level. Okay, so therefore you can say edge triggering and level triggering. So now, so as I said you, there are two types of triggering. One is level triggering and edge triggering. So this waveform, what you can see, totally relates with the level triggering. Okay, so what is level triggering in the sense, the flip flop or the circuit gets triggered during the positive half cycle, and for the entire that positive half cycle you can see that the circuit is getting triggered. So for the entire positive level, for every positive level the circuit gets triggered. So for every positive trigger level, the circuit gets triggered. So it means that the circuit gets triggered when a positive level of the pulse is obtained. So normally level triggering we normally see in the strobe or the enable pins that we saw in all the combinational logic circuits. In combinational logic circuits, we see circuits, this level triggering is used. Level triggering is used. So when it is active high enable pin, so positive level triggered is used for active high, positive level triggered is used for active low, negative level for active low is used. So if you have an active low enable pin, we normally a negative level triggering is what will be used in such enable inputs. If you have an active high enable inputs, for such enable inputs we see that we normally use positive level triggering. Okay, so negative level triggering is used for active low enable inputs, whereas positive level triggering is used for active high enable inputs. So that is what the level triggering is used for. Okay, now the level triggering is nowhere used in flip-flops or in counters. So from now, because level triggering is over, we have discussed that in combinational logic circuits about enable pins and all, active low, active high and all I have explained earlier. So that is where the level triggering is used. So from now, for counters or flip-flops, we normally go with edge triggering. So edge triggering here is like a clock pulse input. It means that the triggering will happen as soon as the positive edge is obtained. As soon as positive edge is reached, immediately the circuit gets triggered. So it means this edge triggering will always be much faster than the level triggering. Right? The edge triggering will be much faster than the level triggering, because the circuit gets triggered as soon as the positive edge has been obtained or reached. Okay, so for every positive edge we see the circuit gets triggered. Okay, so this is positive triggering, whereas negative triggering will always happen when the negative edge has been reached in the waveform. So if you see this arrow mark says it is a negative edge and this arrow mark says it is a positive edge. For every positive edge, your flip-flop will get triggered. So between each triggering we see the flip-flop remains to be in the constant state. Okay, the flip-flop gets triggered only when the positive edge is obtained. Now think that at this positive edge the flip-flop is triggered and it remains to be in the same state. To go to the next state, it will wait for next positive edge has been reached. So only when the next positive edge has been reached, the circuit will again get triggered. Until that, it remains to be in the same state. But here, the circuit gets triggered when during the negative edge. Therefore, it remains to be in the same state until and unless the next negative edge has been reached. Okay, so this is how the edge triggering is been given to the flip-flops or counters or whatever the shift registers and all, what we learn in the further discussions. So this video had a discussion on an introduction part of flip-flop, the latches or the memory elements whatever we have discussed in the initial was introduction. Then we saw bistable element and how bistable element is used as a latch or in a memory element. Then we saw the difference between combinational and sequential logic circuits. Then we saw a simple SR latch, how it works and what would be the operation of SR latch for different conditions of S and R. And then we saw what would be the application of SR latch by discussing about the debouncing, switch debouncing that is being created to avoid the bouncing effect of the switch by connecting switch to the SR latch. And then we discussed on different types of triggering. The last point which I wanted to tell you is the clock input. So clock input will normally be a square wave. Okay, normally be a square wave. This is the clock. Okay, this is the clock. So this is a normal square wave with on and off condition, where this square wave will be with respect to 50% duty cycle. 50% duty cycle. One full cycle with on and off is called one period. Okay, so clock will always have 50% duty cycle. It means that on and off are both will be of equal in time duration. On and off will happen in the same time duration. That is what 50% duty cycle is all about. So one full cycle with on and off is actually called as one period. So this is the clock. Okay, and we see during this clock, edge triggering is always happens at the edge. Level trigger always happens at the level of each pulse of the clock. So I hope you are clear with the triggering and the clock, whatever we have discussed now. In my next video, we will try to start discussion on the clocked SR flip flop and JK flip flop, D flip flop, T flip flop, and so on.